Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now we have a 2011 2-litre diesel Opel Insignia or Vauxhall Insignia, depending where you're from. This is actually a Vauxhall, but because it was imported from the UK, but over here in Ireland we have Opel. And we have a P0234 and a P0299, which is overboost and underboost on this engine. Customer is complaining of no power. It's kind of an intermittent no power in the sense of when I took it for a test drive, I plugged it in, obviously pulled them codes, and when I took it for a test drive, first and second gear was perfect, got it into third gear, 3,500 or 2,500, bang, just no power. Then I turned it off, turned it back on again, and got out of first gear, second gear, bang, no power. Once I managed to get out of third gear with power, fourth gear, no power. So kind of an intermittent, the way it kind of kicks in, no power. Now on the test drive you can learn some kind of valuable information. All right, let's see if we can recreate this problem. I'm hoping for the light to come back up and say service now. Problem is we've just got no power. Engine really rough. Will it do it for us? There we go, just nothing now, absolutely dead. Will not go past 96 kilometers. Foot is welded to the floor, and unfortunately it hasn't come up the service now, but that doesn't really matter. It did before. So there we go, there's our problem. Third gear, just over 3,000 revs, and our problem occurred. And just as I said that, service vehicle soon. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Lovely. Now we've obviously got some sort of boosting problem, and there's a few reasons you can have that. Obviously dodgy sensors, hole in one of your pipes, you know, in your intercooler system, dodgy turbo. There's a few reasons for it. Doesn't sound like a dodgy turbo. You would kind of hear a kind of a metal kind of grating noise. Most where you see a load of blue smoke coming out the back, we're not getting that. Don't think it's a hole in the system. The reason why I don't think it's a hole in the system is because, again, you know, one time I got out of third gear and have power. If there's a hole there, there's going to be a hole there all the time. You're going to hear a whistle and there's going to be no power. Possibilities, black smoke with it being a diesel. So I'm not really kind of concerned about a hole in the system. These turbo systems are ECU controlled essentially. The wastegate isn't controlled internally anymore. It's controlled by the ECU, and the ECU commands it depending on what pressure it needs, and it commands it, and it basically gives you boost pressure. So there's a few things that could be wrong. So there's a couple of issues that could be wrong, but from the actual test drive, it kind of can knock away some of the symptoms. So I've just popped the bonnet, and there's a couple of things that do concern me. I can see a load of wires here kind of out of their wrapping. You can see this has been taken off. It's missing. The factory wiring wouldn't be like this. It wouldn't be that exposed. Is that an issue? Don't know. Now what I am going to test first is the boost solenoid, because I know, oh, you can't really see. Again, this is just from experience and stuff, but these boost solenoids do give a lot of problems. I've seen videos out there on people cleaning them and stuff like that, but I'm telling you now, once they start giving problems, just replace them. Don't try and clean them, because you might think it's going to work, and then you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're driving home from somewhere and there's no power and it breaks down. It's just not worth it. If there is a problem with something, just replace it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to test this. We're going to test the wiring. We want to make sure we've got powers and grounds. We want to make sure the ECU is controlling this properly, and then we're going to actually test the actual valve itself, and we're going to see, and hopefully that is our problem. And if not, we kind of go from there. But just from these, they do suffer with turbo problems, they do suffer with valve problems. But like I said, from the test drive, I'm not concerned about the turbo. I'm not concerned about a leak in the system. I'm not concerned about the EGR valve at this moment in time. The codes I'm getting are a boost code. So they're a boost, pressure, overload, and I think, what was the other one? Underboosting. Overboosting and underboosting essentially. And this is what controls our boost. So this is the first thing I'm going for. If it was an EGR valve problem, you would get maybe some sort of EGR valve fault. We're not getting it. But they do give problems, so just be aware of that. We're going to test the old boost valve first, and yeah, sorted. Right, so just down here we have a solenoid, and essentially it's just a 12-volt solenoid. Nothing particularly special about it. It's a ground side controlled by the ECU, so the ECU will, depend on what speed you're doing, what gear you're in, you know, if you put your foot down, what percentage your throttle is, the ECU will control this to give you the right amount of boost for what you happen to be doing at the time. It really is as simple as that. So there's a few ways we can test it. First thing we need to do, because I don't like all these wires that have been kind of stripped out here, I don't know if someone's been at this before, I don't know if it's been to another place before, I'm just not sure. So first thing we need to do, like you have to do with everything, is we need to check the wiring. So we need to make sure the wire from here to the ECU, it's doing what it's supposed to do. So there's a few quick ways we can do it. We know it's a 12-volt solenoid. So I'm going to back probe it. We have two wires. We have a purple wire and a yellow and brown wire. Our purple wire is going to be our 12 volts. So what I'm going to do is just back probe that. First thing I want to check is the battery voltage. I'll kind of do a drop test to make sure we're getting the right voltage. So if I put that to that, and at the minute our battery voltage is 12 point, oh, we're not getting a proper connection there. The lights are on because the ignition's on. I haven't turned that part off. What are we getting? Let's settle. 12.1. So we have got a draw on it. The battery isn't fully charged, but we won't worry about that yet. So what I'm going to do is leave this on battery negative, and I'm going to put this on our probe. We just back probed. I just want to see if we got the same voltage. Yeah, which we do. I'm happy enough with that. If we only had like 10 volts there or 9 volts, we know we've got a wiring issue. So we know the power side is okay. Very simple, no point going any further. We know that. Now I'm going to back probe the control wire, which is a ground side control from the ECU. And what we're going to do is the same thing. Put our lead to it. Now, we should be getting, if I remember, around 7 volts when this is idling. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it on. Don't know if I can leave the scan tool there. Oh, does that come off? It has. Put that back on. I'll show you that in a second. I just moved the scan tool and start this up. Of course, I have to press the stupid throttle or the stupid brake to start these. At the minute we're on 2.8 volts, which just isn't right for this idling. But what I want to do now is I want to check the control side. I don't know if you can hear, but the engine is kind of really rough idling. What I want to do now is I want to check, and I want to see if the ECU is able to actually control this. Hopefully we haven't got too much glare. So if I go into functions, actuator, hopefully you can, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see what the scan tool is doing. Anyway, all I'm doing is I'm just bidirectionally controlling the actuator. All you really need to worry about is the multimeter. So we go on to turbocharged wastegate solenoid, and we should be able to actually control this. At the minute it's at 5%. We should be able to go into actuate. Oh, engine must be running. Okay, that's going to be quite difficult to do with this setup. Let me change everything and we'll get you going again. Right, hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to actuate this. So we should see voltage change, which we do. which is really good. So that means we have control. So I've actuated that to 45%. The voltage is moving, which is brilliant. So I go down again. Yeah, that will go. So that makes our wiring integrity okay. So we know our wiring is fine. I don't know what's just happened there. Output control, temporary disabled, please wait. Why did you do that? It doesn't matter. We have control, which is the most important thing. So that's good. One thing I have noticed, this gets like really hot. Like I now cannot touch that. That is too hot to touch. That shouldn't be getting that hot. Yeah. So this is what I think. I think we have control. We don't have an issue with anything. Our wiring integrity is good, but this valve is sticking. And the reason it's getting hot is because the power is going in, but it's not moving. So it's just essentially overheating, which is making it stick. That's why I'm getting, sometimes I can get out of third gear, sometimes I can't get out of second gear. It's kind of an intermittent the way it kicks in. So yeah, it is looking like it is this. There's a couple more checks I want to do just to be 100% before I kind of call anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my EGR valve tester and I'm going to plug it into that solenoid. And we're going to see another test we can do just to make sure we have full control and it is doing what it's supposed to be doing, even though we know we've got control. But let's just see. I'm going to back probe both of them. Well, I'm going to certainly try. I'll show you the connection in a minute. It's just a 2-pin connection. All I'm doing is back probing it. There's nothing really to see at the minute. So I'm going to back probe it, and I want to see if our waveform is correct coming out of it. Best thing about this is a 2-channel oscilloscope. So at 5 volts per division, 20 volts scale, and 100 milliseconds. I think that should be all right. Let's just start this again and see. And yet we have a good wave. I'll just see if I can get into that a bit more. And of course I pressed the wrong button. There we go, we're getting our square wave. Hopefully you can see that. I just do it one more time. There we go, perfect. So we're getting a square wave there. Our amplitude and everything is good. So we know we haven't got an issue with that. That kind of puts it to bed, problem with the sensor. So our amplitude, our cycles, everything was fine. So we can kind of put to bed that it is our sensor at fault. But there's one more thing I want to do, just for kind of shits and giggles. Just turn that off. Pull out our back probes, and I'm going to put our EGR valve tester on it. Now, even though what I am testing isn't an EGR valve, that doesn't matter. This is essentially a 12 volt system. So we've got a 12 volt solenoid, so I should be able to control the solenoid from this. No problem. So let's just get this out of the way. What I'm going to do is unplug the sensor. So this is just a 2-pin sensor, and get on our kit. We do have one of these, and this essentially is just 2 wires. You need to find out, well, you need to know which is your 12 volts. We know which is our 12 volts and which is our sensor wire, so that's not a problem. So our blue, what is it, purple, is our 12 volts. If I just shove that down there, and then our control wire. Plug it into our sensor, or our little box, which we then have to plug into the power. We could have always done an ohms test on this as well. That's another option. It should be around 15 ohms, but there's no point in me doing that. But what I've done is I've now plugged this in. I should be expecting to hear some kind of click. Let me just get around here so you can see, so I'm not blocking the light. I should be able to hear a click. You might not be able to hear it on camera. I'm going to hold the actual valve and I'm going to press this. I can't hear anything there. Let me put the microphone down to it and press it. See if we can do a cycle on this. I don't know. Oh, we can. That's actually cycling as if it was going to clean the EGR valve. Now the box is ticking, but we have no ticking or no clicking yet. And all it's doing is, let me put the mic back to me gob. All it's doing is, this is heating up, this is getting really hot. If I had a thermal imaging camera, I could show you how hot this is getting. But that is getting hot. Right, no clicking, no nothing. 100% we have a problem. Let's just turn this off. With that valve, simple, sorted. Right, so that's it. We have a problem with this valve. No ifs, buts or maybes. What is it, 210 mils? It is a common problem on these Insignias. Oh, this one is tight. It's a common problem on all these that have this. A lot of cars have this now. I just don't know why they can't keep it simple. Keep it to the old-fashioned ones that don't cause any problems. I'll just quickly show you what it looks like. My battery card's about to die. That's what it looks like. Normally these kind of bow and buckle when they've gone, but this one isn't doing that. This one is just getting bloody hot. Right, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to ring the customer, let them know what's wrong, price up the part, see when I can get it here, fit it, and then see what happens. Sorted. Right, we're back, and as you can see, we have a genuine part. Where's the part number? There's the part number, made in Germany, GM. So there we go. As you can see on it, it says 12 volts. We've only got the 2-pin connection, and we've got 2 hoses, 2 vacuum hoses, one smaller than the other one, so you can't really go wrong with it. Very, very simple thing. Like I was saying, on the old one, what you can sometimes see is this kind of bubbling and bursting. We're not getting that with this, but we're getting a lot of heat. What I want to do is put my EGR valve tester back, just because I want to see if we can hear anything out of this one. Hopefully we can, because if we can't, it means it might not be this problem. We put the microphone next to it. Hopefully now I can hear that. Hopefully the microphone picks it up. Let me just put it on a cycle. Hopefully now the microphone is picking that up. I can hear it anyway, which is good. Right, that's brilliant, because we don't have that on the old one. It still pulls in. No, let me just do it again. Right, absolutely nothing. But what is happening, this thing is getting hot, and I'm not going to hold it for long because it would just get too hot. There we go. Right, so that 100% confirms that we have a problem with this. This is sticking or not moving. I say it's sticking because, like I said, it's kind of an intermittent the way it's coming in. I got 2 fault codes, an overboost and an underboost. So yeah, intermittent boost control valve. Well, this is a boost control valve and it was intermittent. Sorted. So nice and easy, just shove this back together, take it down the road for a spin. Right, so I've just come back from the test drive. I cleared the codes before I went off. Let's just see if we've got any codes in now. No lights came on. There we go, sorted. Right, so there you go. I mean, that's it. Car is a million times better. We used a scan tool, a multimeter. The only reason I use that multimeter is because it has an oscilloscope on. I just wanted to see the waveform. But we also used an EGR valve tester. So it just goes to show, you know, you can use different things for other things. You have to be careful. I knew it was a 12-volt solenoid, and I knew the EGR valve was a 12-volt tester. Don't be using that on, you know, other things. Don't try and be putting power backwards. I disconnected the wiring harness. Don't try and put 12 volts to something that is connected, because it'll go straight back to ECU and it will just, well, you'll just see smoke coming out. So I made sure it's completely disconnected. I made sure I knew the circuit. I made sure I knew the component I was testing. So don't just go and start putting 12 volts onto things. Loads of ways you can test it, but that's just the easiest way. We had to first verify with the scan tool down here that we had powers and grounds. That's the first thing you need to do. We knew we had powers. We did a voltage drop test. We knew that was fine. We also did the ground side, the control from the scan tool. So we knew we had control from the ECU. So that verified our wiring harness. Simple. Then we could see the part was getting hot, or you could feel the part was getting hot. Once I get a thermal imager, that would have been perfect for a thermal imager, because, you know, the things are supposed to get warm but not hot. So, you know, that was kind of another telltale sign. So there it is. We've diagnosed it, tested it, sorted, done. Everyone's happy. Customers are going to be happy. They've got the power back, the usual, you know, all that sort of stuff. So that's it. All our links as normal, our Patreon, to our Facebook, to everything. Links up here, links down below. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.